the floor like lifeless petals. Seem your prayers vanish into unheard, unfulfilled. Why does the resist or ignore your heart? The universe is cruel, and who is speaking? Is the divine child. You have pleaded. You have whispered, declared your light with fire. Boundless shock waiting to awaken holy that it cannot be grasped. Felt in the silence between your not need to beg the infinite for divine inheritance. Cast into a universe you are not trembling at the edge of be noticed. You are a spins the galaxies. Ocean of spirit, born, but to remember its rhythm, its divine command. The world teaches you to forget. Have you looked to the heavens? Please, just ask you gently. Did you believe yourself to be disconnected from God, worthy, uncertain, shadow, not a sunbeam? Of your request did not rise, the same low field of separation suffering in the first place. Misunderstand me. It is not sinful to cry out. The manner in which you identify the seed of creation. Onto your words, it responds to you. And if your consciousness is woven back with self-abandon, the most eloquent prayer becoming only the absence of your own. A man once stood before a great pleading, his voice filled desires. The man calm as the sea after a storm. You speak as, but I see a king dressed in red. You ask your own servant for permission. The man trembled, realized. His words, not remembrance, but his soul had not spoken. He was. You die, my child. You tone of your eternal voice, beg. It does not tremble before its own source, sovereign authority, not arrogant, vibration of alignment. It speaks not to consecrate your own will to. This is the shock I must wound, but to awaken. Have lacked power because they have not risen from the altar, have not burned with the certainty, been echoes of fear. But this can change, but through remembrance. Turn to who you truly are, not a seeker. The moment you reclaim, your words will rise like not only your longing, and that knowing is what form. Do not become the universe as it speaks, with command, with love. Let us now, beloved soul, into the false self, who has taken your voice and turned. This ego, this is not evil by nature, can whisper, born us, but when it speaks in the language of the lost, the sacred act of communion action. It stagger, not knowing that at the dawn of your creation, the tone of egoic prayer, posture of distance, there. It always is lacking. I am incomplete. Speaks with doubt woven into the, maybe you will hear me. Maybe this will work. Robes of devotion. The ego does not. And in that pleading, frequency that confirms the illusion. The ego prays, it is not. It is circling within powerlessness, realness. It has built its false kingdom. This is not true communion. And so I ask, what posture what garment did your identity wear? Approach God like an exile? Or did you enter the one who was never cast out to be? Man may speak the words of a saint, them as a slave to fear him empty. But a word from the depth of union. And light will move and because he remembers. I do not tell you this. I tell you this to unlock the few, not meant to crawl in prayer, is to expand to kingdom, but as one of the king within. Side, you open the door. Think of this: the sun to shine. It does in the sky. It's sure, and so too radiant stillness to command through egoic panic, always looking for leverage. Words, maybe God will listen. Perhaps the universe will. The soul knows another way. Leverage. It seeks to manipulate. It speaks not to achieve, already is. Did not ask God for healing. Spoke as one in full attuned whole. These were not suggestions of truth made flesh. Christ could do, you too may, not as a self-divided from a soul rejoined to its. To notice then, the word infinite. Begin to know the breath, the gate, right? Or have you collapsed and speak? The voice downward, the voice like flame. Earth. You are meant to declare. You are not meant to beg to extend grace. You must unmask the false self with clarity. You name. I reclaim. O divine has been unmasked in the false. It is time to awaken. The voice of the eternal self never bowed. The light to shine. For you is one who is separate. Speak with the tone of God's own. Not in fear, but in. This is not blasphemy. It is your forgotten. Waiting in silence for you to tell you what it means to speak with divine. To speak not as one trying, but as one already. It is to align in it, to speak not to, but to enter the vibration. When the soul speaks true from ego, it already alive in the field of spirit. Think of power as volume, not shout. It does not try to perform. It's the calm conviction of silence that speaks louder than noise. Still breath that moves mountains. Great ones. Krishna, Babaji. Did they ever plead for signs? Their center and their divine law. When was not a request, it was already present in spirit. He revealed it. Voice. When you speak during blessings, you are not instructing the universe with its creative impulse. Change. You are becoming the shift. It is not about cleaner consciousness, ending. It is about, how do you speak this way? Remembrance. Inhale deep lungs, but into your spine. To the spiritual eye. Feel your being extend beyond this place. Speak. Sacred knowing. I speak presence. I speak as the light all. When you pray, begin from fullness. You, Father, that you have all. Because I am one with carry thy vibration. Ask not with panic. Reveal through me what you. This is how the, not with frantic hope. It speaks as if it has touched the field where it exists, and it calls with the highest path of the soul. Divine power is to say only what aligns. Of God. This is saint can change the course of 1,000 words from ego. From this to make something happen. He lives inside you. Not from the lips, but from the soul. God remembering itself. Of divine will and human. Not beg. I remember. I become. Let them echo. Let them become the new language prayer. Your life. Soul has tasted the sound of its own. Let us move deeper. Not to vibration. For it is a tuning. And when you speak from the seat of words do not rise from earth to from spirit through creation, energy, and 'tis the law of alignment. Be late from pleading. You create. You see the true power of changes God's will. Eternal current of God's intent. The current is always flowing, available. Healing is all field. But until your heart, your breath vibrate in harmony, you may be shouting at that stream, but the moment the water rushes upon you, stream changed. It is prayer then. It is not your faraway power for attention. Act of retuning, like to pitch after wandering. When you pray rightly, you are not coming. You are not resonating. You are nopping into what already is. Imagine a great music and fragrance, but the door is tuned stillness. You kitchen and enter. You peace to gratitude power. Outside, it melts and you were never separate. Creative authority works. The breath is the first alignment. Scattered forces of thought back and feel, not emotion. Feel the calm. Let it still. Then speak. You say. But what is already true and say, because I walk in, because I remember. Because I finds me in divine rhythm, formations of ego. These are, and when they are spoken, is lifted to the spiritual eye, still and aware. Be convinced. It's simply, this is the law that governs all hidden science behind the mere abundance of peace. Asked for it, but that they tuned themselves to the answer forming. They did not so. They said, hear it, and I stand with, this is your inheritance, dear life, not as one seeking power, whom power has awakened. Control. You need to convince. And now I offer you a breath ritual to begin your mornings. Inhale deeply through the nose, the spine. Exhale, releasing all effort. I tune my voice to the divine, not to be heard, but to, I am the sound of. Let these in your spine. And when you rise, but as a sounding board for some alignment. Walk in a line that the universe does not wish you. Now let me lost, not in theories. For though the sway of the Creator, the who has been cast out of the garden of misalignment, the face is this, of the universe. You may not realize it, vocabulary. It has a magnetic signature. Your words carry nothing but the energy of ask, but you do not receive, but you do not believe, do not rise in consciousness. Because the prayer is coded in helplessness is not the, it is the echo of a self made in the image of light. Have you ever caught your ever works out for me? Keep testing me. But nothing changes, seem harmless. Honest seeds. Each one instructs your energy, your aura, and when that becomes, even your prayers, no matter how rise of weakness, remember the soul through me now. The soul declares. So I ask you, not with passion, have you allowed wounds instead of your divinity? Speech an altar for complaint, betrayal, stories of low. It is time to take. Begin first with your body. Hood curls the shoulders. It breathes shallow. All. Lift the gaze. Base of your spine. Feel the throne of divine beneath you. Now the soul. I am what I choose to speak into being. The universe is not against me. Current. This moment is a portal to alignment of slogans. They shift the field of, but through truth, Hood believes it must convince, but the soul knows. Light listens, no delay in divine response, in divine identity. If you feel ready, sliding you. I released. I speak now. I am not a victim. I am the voice of the infinite. Feel the difference? The other creates. Let no word leave your lips. Let no phrase be spoken on the altar of your destiny. rises without apology. Catch yourself falling into the victim, not despair, smitten, and correct the course. That was not me. And now I return, crawl through life begging for Christ. Stand in silence and calm, radiant joy. Let's enter the second veil, that the hidden habit of waiting. This illusion is and often cloaked in spirit. It is not true surrender. It is the soul's eve, when the universe standing in the knowing that grace has remembrance. You seekers live in a spiritual waiting room. They meditate, and still they say, maybe next time, God will answer. Place time, karma, and it was in the infinite. As under before rising, knows otherwise. Is not withheld. The universe, it only waits for the veteran upright to be ready. Analogy. So, have you made delay? You told yourself that your dream, while doubting that your own. Have you passive resignation? When the universe gives me a sign, but the soul says, the path appears. Wait for permission to become you as destiny. There was once a disciple who asked mother for a vision. He cried, "Mother, if you are real," silence remained. In basking, he sat in Steve, but to listen. Not a plea, but a never absent vibration. Not as thunder, as divine vibration. He did not became it. That is, you do not wait to be chosen. We're chosen the moment God. This is the tone of divine hope. It harmonizes. It declares. It's sight. I move now with it. Things shift, not because of attunement. Breathe deeply. Let your gaze rest in. Now speak. Lest I walk in the blessing. Not wait for permission. I can already. This moment key. I begin. How these words change the. This is not emotional alignment. This is aiming what the ego wants. From this day forward, already been answered. Not, but because the inner has eyes in the morning. Do not add blessed. Declare. Today I open and already align. Live accordingly. Your divine tone. You are here to vibrate, already prepared for you. You come to the third shadow that you outsource. You hand over your authority to trends, to horoscopes, heats. And though these may, the danger lies not in the setting that the power never belongs, always hidden in you. To speak, forgetting that you are. You check the moon for permission, forgetting that the soul casts. You wait for a message while the infinite Christ consciousness of your spine. It is subtle slavery, activity dressed in spiritual language. Need to fear symbols. Place your direct line to God. The outer as a substitute for the God within does not cry. He does not in your power. He requires who is speaking. When you unfavorable, I've given the planets more power. When you say, I can't match right, you've declared your calendar instead of the map. When you ask a card to tell you who you are, truth that was built inside the soul never outsources. It speaks, but with the tone of the infinite. So how do you end? You begin and anchoring in the inner. Verse, thank you for the signs, spirit within me. Not from arrogance, but God lives within me. I am the sign. Information. I am the word made. To anchor this truth, shift your gaze to the spiritual eye and say, I call back my speak now only as one. You do not need to shape it. You are not energies. You are the space you enter. Let your stillness, your consciousness be your spine, be your staff of light. I must wait for the say, I be all things. Outsource nothing. Placed within you. System, no tradition. For the soul speak with the divine. It is spirit. Say it now. Take back my voice. I speak now. Responds. Not because I remembered. Now that the shadows, illusions unmasked, not just in thought, for knowledge alone cannot, remembrance can. And it is an embodiment. Rises to speak, own reflection. Its gaze and the spine declare have returned. I speak now not as a son of the divine. At the end of a teaching, it is, let us enter together, not to constall, not to resum. Let the words reach, let your posture, aura brighten. Mortal tone to the, now slowly from your mouth, repeat each line. Inhale, I do not. Exhale, I remember, I do not chase. Become. In wish. Exhale, inhale, I do exhale, I speak me. Let this anchor the truth more deeply that for what you are speaking now is, it is an ancient memory. Read now with full devotion. I am the voice of divine. I am not waiting. I do not hope. I do not ask for light bring itself. Let the spine become a pillar of flow, remain uplifted. Let only peace. You are not a person reciting or a soul installing a new. You are reprogramming every eternal origin. I speak as one who has, because now you have, and you have chosen to create. It is your the words, and purified by truth can. You no longer ask, you realize the divine's beloved as you now stand and you are, not as a mere eye, but as a living for you a challenge, soul vibration. Your mind, it is for your accepted. It will not just, it will rewire the tone and the way it answers. For the next 7 days, word of begging, no vibration of victimhood. Begin to say, I, I'm waiting, breathe, return to the gaze, and say instead who I am. Aligned. I do not. Let this become, say it before you rise, say it when your fear starts to, when you are tempted to outsource. Let these old phrases, let them spoke them. And this transformation. In the space below digital altar, I do not beg. Let them be seen by us as a public vow, a forgetfulness. Into the ethers, into the quantum language is declared in spiritual sincerity. Now I place my, not in space, but in spirit. You, go forth, not to convince the sky, but to soul, clean line in power. They ask, may your breath, may your spine remember, you were never meant to bend to tremble. You were in whom the universe hears its own, and now it has. Not as someone hoping to be heard who remembers what God. You are not down. Let your next Do not think your body is deaf to your sorrow. It listens. It absorbs the vibrations of your thoughts more faithfully than your lips echo your own voice. The body, beloved one, is not a machine of flesh and fluid, waiting for diagnosis and remedy from the outside. It is a responsive, intelligent temple, crafted not by human design but by the Lord himself, each cell, a listening shrine, each organ a rhythmic disciple of your inner harmony or discord. And yet, so many walk the earth treating their body as though it were a stranger, an enemy, or a lifeless garment to be cursed in sickness and neglected in health. You ask, why won't my body heal? I say unto you, perhaps it has not yet heard your soul speak to it with love. The soul is not imprisoned in the brain. It speaks through the whole body. Illness is often not rebellion, but the cry of a silenced intuition, the inner voice that has tried to reach you through fatigue, through restlessness, through a knot in the chest, through an ache in the joints. Pain, when heard with reverence, is not punishment. It is prayer waiting to be answered. When you feel dis-ease, do not recoil in fear. Instead, sit beside it as you would sit beside a child who has fallen. Whisper to it, listen to it, ask it, what part of my divine memory have I forgotten here? The world teaches us to escape pain, to fight the body, to sedate and silence the symptoms. But I say unto you, speak. Speak with reverence to the temple of your flesh. For your body is not a dumb creature. It is a neglected instrument, a vina left untouched, waiting to be played by the melody of your soul's remembrance of God. You must not ask, what pill shall I take? Before you ask, what prayer shall I speak? You must not abandon the house of your spirit because the windows are cracked. Instead, light a candle inside it. Watch what happens. You do not need to replace your body. You do not need to curse its slowness, nor apologize for its pain. You must remember its divine origin. In the beginning, when you were but breath and light, God spoke to the vibration of your being and said, "Be thou a vessel of my healing." That command still echoes through every atom of you. You have only forgotten to respond. But today, yes, in this very moment, you can begin to remember. You can begin to speak, and the body will hear. For within you dwells the inner doctor not of science, but of spirit. Not a technician, but a divine listener who waits, patiently, for the sound of your soul calling his name from within the flesh he made holy. You see your body in the mirror, and you believe it to be a thing. You touch your skin, and you believe it to be merely matter. But what you see is not what you are. What you touch is not all that you contain. For your body is not just flesh, it is concentrated light, slowed into form by the magnetic will of God. It is not your true self, but it is the temporary cloak your soul has woven out of divine energy for the fulfillment of its journey on this plane. It is a garment spun not of cotton or sinew, but of vibrating atoms, alive with the silent breath of spirit. Every cell in your being is a tiny altar, quietly worshiping the life force that animates it. That force, which I have called prana, is the sacred electricity of God. It is not neutral. It is not mechanical. It is divine intelligence, streaming into your system from the subtle cosmic currents of spirit. I tell you with full authority, your body is intelligent. Your cells hear, respond, and adapt to the vibrations of your thoughts. They do not wait for medicines to instruct them. They wait for consciousness to direct them. You have been taught to place your faith in pills, in procedures, in outer instruments. I do not tell you to reject them. I tell you to understand their place. They may assist the temple, but they do not light its lamp. The true lamp of healing is the divine energy within you, consciously invoked. The master healer is not medicine, but the spirit within that medicine, and that spirit is within you already. To be healed is to remember the divine power that already exists at the center of your being, not to create it, but to awaken it. In my meditations, I often saw that God had hidden himself in every atom. I would feel his presence flowing through my limbs, a current of life so subtle, so alive, that all the pain and fatigue would vanish like night before the sunrise. In that state, I saw what is unseen to most, that this body is not mine but his, that I am not the keeper of this flesh, I am its witness, its priest, its silent caretaker. And when I blessed the body with that realization, it becomes a willing servant, a joyful messenger of divine energy. Do not be fooled by the sluggishness of the body when you are tired. Do not mistake pain as proof of separation. The body is like a loyal elephant, it moves slowly, but it remembers deeply. If it has grown ill, it is not because it is wicked. It is because it has obeyed your unconscious commands. You told it, through thought or fear or resentment, to hold sorrow, and it did. You told it through stress or shame to freeze, and it obeyed. But if today you begin to speak again in the language of reverence, if today you breathe and bless it with divine awareness, it will awaken. It will listen. Think of this. If the soul can command the wind to still, as the masters have done, can it not command its own cells to return to harmony? If the spirit within you is the same that spins galaxies and sustains the sun, can it not guide your immune system, your heartbeat, your bones? But the secret, dear one, is not in shouting, it is in listening. Speak to your body not as a slave to be whipped into healing, but as a divine servant who has forgotten its master. Remind it, with gentle breath, you are made of God's light. You are a vehicle of divine love. You are not broken, you are awakening. Every ache is not only biological, it is theological. Every healing is not merely chemical, it is cosmic remembrance. Your body is not just flesh, it is the visible edge of your invisible spirit. And when you begin to treat it as such, it begins to bloom not just in strength, but in divine receptivity. You may have studied anatomy. You may have learned the names of muscles and organs, of hormones and glands, of bones and nerves, but you have not yet touched the mystery until you have seen your body with the eye of the soul. Beneath the skin lies not merely tissue, but a vast cathedral of divine intelligence. It is a universe of vibrating atoms, each one alive with the command of God. And if you still yourself long enough, you will feel that command pulsating silently through your chest, like a forgotten prayer waiting to be remembered. Subpoint A. Intelligent cells. Let me take you deeper. Every cell in your body is not a dead structure, it is an intelligent spark, carrying within it a portion of your karmic memory and divine potential. Your DNA is not just genetics, it is the encoded echo of past actions, past thoughts, past lives. In your very blood is recorded the music of who you have been and who you are becoming. And yet, this is not a prison. It is a temple under construction, waiting for the architect of consciousness to return. When I sat in deep stillness, I saw that illness is not merely the result of poor health habits or bad luck. It is often the physical echo of emotional untruths, unspoken griefs, or subconscious beliefs that have taken residence in the tissue. Cells can be hypnotized by karma, caught in patterns of disharmony set in motion lifetimes ago. But just as they were programmed by past error, they can be re-educated by present awareness. You do not have to carry the weight of forgotten wounds. You can awaken the intelligence of every cell through will and divine remembrance. Subpoint B. Awakening the inner intelligence. The body is not inert. It is not blind. It is waiting. Every illness, every sensation, every fatigue is a knock at the temple door, asking, "Will you speak to me with God today?" And how do you awaken that dormant vitality? Through conscious communion. Through meditation, where the energy of the soul begins to rise from the base of the spine to the throne of divine realization, at the point between the eyebrows. Through the energization exercises, I gave to the world not mere movements, but sacred rituals designed to magnetize the body with cosmic power. You must understand this. You are not just a patient waiting for healing. You are the priest of your own temple. When you invoke God through your breath, through your will, through your focused love, you become the channel through which divine vitality flows. You do not heal yourself alone. You awaken the dormant Christ consciousness within your cells, and that divine Christ takes charge. Speak to your spine, O child of spirit. Speak to your liver, your lungs, your knees. Say to them, you are not clay. You are light. You are not forgotten. You are the breath of God in form. And slowly, yes, sometimes gradually, but always surely, the body will begin to respond. It will begin to listen. And you will feel a quickening, a warmth, a peace that no pill can create. That is the divine biology awakening. This is why I told my disciples, wherever you are, stand firm in the temple of your soul. For even in sickness, even in weariness, the body is not your enemy. It is your oldest friend, carrying the soul through its appointed lessons. Honor it, bless it, awaken it not with fear, but with reverence. And you will begin to see healing not as an accident, but as the natural blossoming of the divine intelligence within. In silence, there is a voice that the body recognizes. It is not the hurried voice of anxiety, nor the heavy groan of despair. It is the quiet, steady flame of divine awareness, shining with the conviction that healing does not beget commands. O seeker, do you know this voice? Have you ever spoken to your own body, not with worry, but with divine reverence? The cells of your being are not deaf. They are not distant. They wait for you to remember that they were made by God and can be healed by God through you. When I lay in the stillness of deep meditation, I discovered that speech, when charged with divine faith, becomes medicine. There is a language that bypasses biology and enters directly into the vibrational heart of every atom. I call it affirmation. But understand this, rightly it is not mental suggestion. It is not the shallow repetition of words. It is the prayer made vibrant with divine will, repeated until the echo shakes awake the very bones of your being. You must not whisper to your body in doubt. You must not command it with impatience. You must speak to it as a loving friend, as a priest invoking God in his temple. Say to your heart, you beat with the power of the infinite. You are strong in the joy of spirit. Say to your nerves, you are bathed in peace, relaxed in God's light. Say to your wounded place, O instrument of the divine, awaken now to thy perfect pattern. Not once, not twice, but again and again until the soul's tone of certainty takes root in your words. I gave to the world the method of divine affirmations, not as superstition, but as sacred science. I taught, I am well, for thou art in me. These were not poetic lines. These were commands, directed to the subconscious, charged with the magnetism of realized faith. You see, the subconscious governs the body's processes, but it listens most obediently to emotionally charged thought. If your mind trembles with fear, your body will tremble too. If your soul speaks with divine calm, the body will begin to reflect that calm in its healing. Do not be afraid to lay your hand upon the aching part. Touch it not just as flesh, but as the altar of spirit. Close your eyes, bring your attention there, and speak not as a desperate mortal, but as a child of God whose words carry the power of creation. If there is a wound, imagine it now surrounded in divine light. Say, this place is no longer forgotten. Here God now reigns. If there is tension, command it with love. You may rest now. The soul has returned. And even if healing takes time, even if symptoms linger, know this. You have begun a conversation that will not return void. The inner doctor, the indwelling Christ, the healing Shakti, the spirit hidden in the Selsh has heard you. Every sincere affirmation calls him forth. Every prayer, spoken with deep feeling, becomes an agent of vibrational realignment. So, speak, not with force, but with unwavering love. Speak not only when sick, but even when well. Daily, offer your body a blessing. Say upon rising, my body is the temple of God. Every cell glows with divine life. Say before sleep, I release all tension. God now circulates his peace through every part of me. These words, spoken with devotion, become as real as the bloodstream, as vital as oxygen, as transformative as grace. And when this language becomes natural, when your speech to your body becomes as common as your speech to others, then you will see at the body awakening, the healing beginning, not from outside, but from within. For the inner doctor has heard your voice, and in his silent wisdom, he now moves through you. You ask, where does healing come from? And I tell you with all the conviction of soul realization, all healing comes from God. Doctors may bandage the wound, but it is the Lord who knits the torn flesh together. Herbs may purify the blood, but it is the divine intelligence within the cells that knows how to repair and restore. Medicines are instruments, only God is the musician. Even the most advanced sciences of your age merely scratch the surface of what the Spirit knows perfectly. You are not a random assembly of bones and breath. You are a holy process, sustained each second by a spark of the infinite. If that divine spark were withdrawn even for a moment, no skill of physician nor strength of will could prevent the body from crumbling. Therefore, I tell you plainly, trust in the sacred origin of your health. not just the mechanical systems of the body, they are but shadows of a deeper light. I have said before, and I say again, permanent healing comes from God, not from the shifting sands of matter, but from the eternal ground of spirit. When the soul, mind, and body are aligned with divine vibration, healing flows effortlessly, naturally, like water finding its way to the sea. But when the soul forgets its source, when the mind is clouded with fear, and the body is neglected or abused, that divine current becomes obstructed. Sickness is not a punishment, it is a signal, a soul call back to alignment. Understand this now, beloved one. Thought is the matrix of the body. Lahiri Mahasaya taught that the mind is the true governor of health. What you believe, what you repeat within yourself, what you silently dread or deeply affirm, these currents shape the vibration of every cell. If your inner atmosphere is clouded with fear, your body cannot breathe the fresh air of spirit. But if your thoughts are steady, faith-filled, and bathed in the remembrance of God, then your body becomes a garden nourished by the sunshine of divine light. You do not need to fight disease, you need to awaken the vibration that dissolves it. The moment you unite your will with God's will, a miracle begins. Not always instant, not always visible at first, but inevitable in its unfoldment. When you say, Lord, thy will be done, not as resignation, but as radiant surrender, you open the door to the highest form of healing, the restoration of soul harmony. Let me offer you a sacred view. Your body is the outermost layer of your karma. To heal it fully, you must touch the causal root, the misalignment of thought and feeling that created the imbalance. When you meditate deeply, when you draw the prana up the spine with devotion, when you feel your ego dissolving in the great ocean of spirit, then the light of God pours through you, not symbolically, but tangibly, purifying the cells, burning out toxins, dissolving tension, and illuminating even your DNA with higher memory. Yes, even your genetic expression responds to your consciousness. You are not condemned by heredity. You are not sentenced by a medical label. You are a soul, moment by moment crafting the temple of your body with the chisel of thought and the breath of spirit. So believe, not blindly, but with awakened faith. Take your medicine if you must, see your doctor if guided, but never forget, behind every method, behind every cure, behind every breath of healing, is the one who made you, who lives in you, who whispers to your cells, "Be whole again, my child. I am thy life." You must understand this. Healing is not achieved by effort alone, nor by willpower divorced from spirit. Healing is a divine cooperation between the child and the parent, between the soul and the cosmic mother, between your cry and God's eternal answering presence. And that cooperation is kindled, ignited, through practice that is saturated with reverence and devotion. Let me begin with a sacred gateway, the energization exercises, which I was divinely guided to share with the world. These are not mere calisthenics. They are sacred rituals of pranic communion, drawing the subtle cosmic energy, the intelligent, healing life force from the ether into the body. When you tense and relax with will and attention, you are not just strengthening the muscles, you are awakening every atom to remember its divine blueprint. You are saying to the cells, "O children of light, come back to order, come back to joy, come back to the rhythm of the spirit." Every movement, when united with conscious breath and divine intention, becomes a form of worship, and in that worship, God flows. He flows through the spine, through the nadis, into the organs, into the blood, into the bones. Healing does not descend from above, it rises from within, from the place where your soul touches His infinite consciousness. Now, listen well. If you would speak directly to your body, then you must also learn to bathe it in prayer, not prayers of begging, but prayers of realization. Here is one I give to you now. Father, thou art in my breath, in my blood, in my brain. Circulate in me as thy radiant intelligence. I am thy temple. Heal me not just to comfort the body, but that I may serve thee without limitation. Let thy perfect power flood every cell of this temple until I glow with thy joy. This prayer is not to be muttered without feeling. It must be breathed into your being until every word vibrates like a divine tuning fork in your heart. When said during meditation, with attention focused at the spiritual eye, this prayer becomes a healing current. And when you visualize divine light, golden, soft, alive, filling every cell, then you are no longer imagining. You are cooperating with what is eternally true. That light is your origin, and light is your medicine. Try this. In meditation, see a river of radiant healing light descending from above your head, flowing down the spine, branching into every organ, every gland, every nerve. Watch as that river carries away darkness, dissolves fatigue, lifts sorrow, restores rhythm. And then, as the river flows outward into your limbs, silently say, I am not this weakness. I am thy strength. I am not this sickness. I am thy wholeness. I am not this fear. I am thy light. The more you practice this, the more the inner doctor awakens. And you will feel him not as a concept, but as a living presence within you. Sometimes you will feel warmth, sometimes peace, sometimes tears of release, and sometimes nothing. But even in that nothingness, the Spirit works in silence, rearranging the patterns of your being. Beloved, let your healing not be mechanical. Let it be mystical. Let it be a love between you and the Creator who made you, who knows how to restore you, who waits not in a temple far away, but in the temple of your own body, listening for the voice of your soul to call him forth. True healing, my beloved, is not the cessation of symptoms. It is not the vanishing of a tumor or the disappearance of a pain. These may come, and blessed is the one who receives them. But the deeper healing is this: harmony between soul, mind, and body. When the soul reclaims its throne as the master, and the mind becomes its humble servant, and the body a faithful temple, then health, true, radiant, spiritual health rises like the morning sun over your being. It is not forced. It simply is. Let us begin with something simple and overlooked: a smile. Do you know that a smile is a form of divine communication? Not just a facial expression, but an act of pranic distribution. When you smile with the soul, not artificially, but with inner warmth, you stimulate the movement of life force throughout the body. The breath deepens. The cells rejoice. The nervous system relaxes its defensive grip. In that moment, God Himself begins to flow more freely through your temple. Try it now. Close your eyes. Place your attention at the point between the eyebrows, the seat of spiritual vision, and smile not with your lips alone, but with your heart. Say inwardly, Lord, I smile in Thee. I relax into Thy healing presence. Let Thy joy cleanse me from within. This too is medicine. This too is alignment. The emotions too must be aligned. Understand this: sorrow contracts, but joy expands the life force. When you harbor sadness, resentment, fear, they are not just moods. They are vibrational toxins that constrict the flow of divine vitality. But when you practice forgiveness, gratitude, and joy even in the face of illness, you create an open channel through which God's power can flow unimpeded. That is why I say, let your healing be a daily spiritual realignment. Each morning, rise with this prayer on your lips. O inner doctor, bless my breath, bless my bones, bless this temple, not for my comfort alone, but that I may serve Thee with a whole heart and a radiant mind. Use this body, O Spirit, to express Thy healing love to the world. Each evening, close your eyes and say, whatever I have clung to today, I release. Whatever tension I've gathered, I surrender. Circulate through me as light, purify me in the silence of Thy peace. This is the prescription from the highest physician. Alignment, not striving. Stillness, not anxiety. Surrender, not spiritual struggle. You are not healing by your own effort. You are merely moving out of the way so that He who dwells in every atom may do His work. Every action you take with reverence becomes part of your healing. Drinking water? Bless it first with divine intention. Eating food? Offer it at the altar of your soul, and know that God digests it with you. Taking a walk? Walk as if God Himself strolls beside you in the garden of your life. These are not poetic rituals. They are precise spiritual alignments that bring every aspect of your being under the law of divine harmony. Do not measure your progress by the outer signs alone. Sometimes the body will still ache. Sometimes healing will be slow. But if your heart is more peaceful, your thoughts more surrendered, your faith more anchored, then you are already healing, no matter what the mirror or doctor says. For what the spirit heals, the flesh eventually reflects. Now, my dear one, Let us complete this journey with the final benediction, the final act of remembrance, where healing becomes not a desire, but a relationship. My beloved soul, if you have walked with me through this message, then you have already begun to heal. Not because of words, but because your attention has turned inward. And where attention flows, energy goes. And where energy flows with reverence, the divine begins to act. Healing is not a technique. It is not a secret recipe reserved for a few. Healing is a relationship intimate, honest, and sacred with the indwelling spirit, the inner doctor who lives in your breath, in your bloodstream, in the still sanctuary behind your heartbeat. The final instruction is not a technique, but a remembrance. When you lie down at night, do not carry your burdens to sleep like chains around the ankles of your soul. Instead, lift them gently into the hands of the infinite. Speak softly. O beloved, heal me not only in body, but in memory. Heal me not only in flesh, but in faith. Let every cell remember thy presence. And as you awaken in the morning, before the mind leaps into plans and problems, pause. One holy breath, one sacred whisper. I walk today as thy temple. I eat, I speak, I move only because thy life is my life. Heal through me, love through me, live through me. That is the ultimate medicine. To no longer live from fear, but from union. When you know that God Himself is the resident of your body, how can you hate it? How can you be at war with it? You begin to bless your body not because it is flawless, but because it is faithful. It has carried you through lifetimes of forgetting, and now it is ready to carry you toward remembrance. You were not meant to suffer alone. You were not meant to carry invisible pain as your permanent inheritance. You were meant to awaken, to speak to the forgotten temple within, and to invite God to make His home there again. When you do this, healing does not come from the outside in. It arises like morning light from the deepest altar of your being. So I offer you this final breath-based invocation. Sit quietly now. Let your spine be straight, your heart soft. Inhale slowly with the thought, God is with me. Hold the breath, gently affirm, God is in me. Exhale slowly with surrender. God is healing me. Again, inhale, God is with me. Hold, God is in me. Exhale, God is healing me. Repeat this 3 times, not as a chant of desperation, but as a song of certainty. Let every breath become a bridge. Let every cell become a lamp lit with divine remembrance. And now, dear one, if these words have touched your soul, if something deep within you stirred and remembered, I invite you not just to listen, but to join in this sacred work. Leave a comment below not for me, but for your own devotion. Write a prayer, write a blessing. Write the name of someone you wish to see healed in spirit. Let us form a silent congregation across time and space, where the breath of God circulates through each of us, like one eternal heartbeat. And now I bless you, not as one separate from you, but as your brother in God. May the infinite physician awaken within you, His radiant temple of wholeness. May your breath carry His healing. May your body remember its divine design. May your soul never forget, you are already whole in Him. Peace. Amen. In all my years of meditation and communion with the divine, I have discovered something that will absolutely astonish you. 99% of human beings are trying to receive love in completely the wrong direction. They are like a person standing with their back to the sun, wondering why they feel so cold and lonely. Let me turn you around today, dear one, and show you the warmth that has been waiting for you all along. My beloved friend, if you have ever felt the deep ache of loneliness in your heart, if you have ever wondered why love seems to slip through your fingers like water no matter how tightly you try to hold it, if you have ever given your heart completely to someone, only to feel empty and forgotten in return, then what I am about to share with you will change everything about how you experience love for the rest of your life. You see, I have spent decades in the deepest meditation, in communion with the greatest saints and sages who have walked this earth, and I have discovered that love is not at all what we think it island. Love is not something we must chase through the world like beggars seeking coins. Love is not something we must earn through perfect behavior or prove ourselves worthy of through endless sacrifice. Love is not something that exists in limited supply, forcing us to compete with others for our share. No, my dear friend. Love is the very fabric of existence itself, the fundamental force that holds the entire universe together, and there is a way to tie yourself to this infinite source so completely that love becomes as natural to you as breathing, as constant as your heartbeat, as effortless as the sun shining. For the lonely soul who feels disconnected from love, always giving but never receiving, always caring but feeling invisible, I say to you with complete certainty, you have been taught backwards by a world that does not understand love's true nature. For the heartbroken one, who wonders if true love even exists after betrayal and disappointment, after promises broken and hearts shattered, I promise you with every fiber of my being, what you experienced was not love's failure, but a fundamental misunderstanding of love's divine nature. For the spiritual seeker who senses deep in their soul that there must be a deeper way to love but cannot find the path through all the confusion and pain, I offer you today an ancient secret that the greatest mystics have known for thousands of years, a secret that will make you a living magnet for divine love. And for the generous heart who is exhausted from loving others while feeling empty inside, who gives and gives until there is nothing left, who serves and sacrifices but feels unseen and unappreciated, I will show you how to become so full of love that giving becomes effortless and joyful, how to love from such abundance that you never again feel drained or depleted by loving. Unlike all the worldly advice that tells you to go out there and find love somewhere, to make yourself more attractive or more worthy or more perfect, so that someone might finally choose to love you, this practice works from the inside out. You will learn to become the source of love rather than a desperate seeker for it. When you tie this sacred thread correctly, love becomes magnetic. It flows to you as naturally as rivers flow to the ocean, as inevitably as spring follows winter, as surely as the tide returns to shore. By the end of our time together today, you will understand exactly why love has felt so elusive and difficult in your life. You will possess a daily practice that transforms you into a living beacon for divine love. You will never again feel like you are pleading with the universe for affection or begging other people to see your worth. Instead, you will know yourself as a sovereign being, connected directly to the infinite source of all love, capable of giving and receiving love with complete freedom and joy. Now let me tell you a story that will begin to open your eyes to this mysterious truth. Several years ago, a woman came to our ashram in the hills of California. She was in her 40s, and she had spent her entire adult life taking care of everyone around her. For 10 years, she had nursed her sick mother through a long illness, sleeping on a cot beside her bed, giving up her own dreams of marriage and family to provide constant care. After her mother passed, she raised 3 children as a single mother when her husband abandoned them for a younger woman. She worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table and clothes on their backs. She volunteered at the local hospital every weekend, reading to patients who had no visitors. She cooked meals for elderly neighbors who could no longer care for themselves. She was always the first person her friends called when they were in crisis, the one who would drop everything to listen and help and comfort. She had given her time, her energy, her money, her youth, her dreams, everything she had to everyone she knew. Her whole identity was built around being the giver, the helper, the one others could count on. But when she arrived at my door on that rainy Tuesday morning, she was weeping so hard she could barely speak. Her children were grown now and living their own lives, rarely calling except when they needed money or advice. Her friends seemed to have forgotten her now that their crises had passed. The hospital had replaced her with younger volunteers. She felt like she had become invisible, like all her years of loving and giving had meant nothing to anyone. She sat across from me in my study, tears streaming down her face, and she said, "Master, I do not understand what I have done wrong. I have given everything I have to everyone I know. I have loved with my whole heart, held nothing back, sacrificed my own needs and dreams and happiness for others. I thought this was what love meant. I thought this was how you earn love in return. But I feel completely invisible now. No one sees me. No one thinks to ask how I am doing. I go to bed every night feeling like I am disappearing, like my love has meant nothing to anyone. What am I doing wrong? Why does love not come back to me?" I looked at this beautiful, generous soul, and I could see immediately what had happened to her. She had been pouring love out of an empty cup for so many years that she had forgotten she even had a heart of her own. She had confused selflessness with self-erasure. She had been trying to fill others from her own emptiness, and emptiness cannot fill anything, my dear friend. It can only create more emptiness, more hunger, more desperation. She had fallen into the trap that catches almost everyone in this world. She believed that love was something you give in order to get. She thought that if she just loved hard enough, sacrificed deeply enough, gave generously enough, then surely love would come back to her. But she had been giving from the wrong source. She had been trying to love from her personality, from her human heart, from her own limited supply of emotional energy. And the human heart, no matter how sincere, no matter how generous, is not designed to be the source of love. It is designed to be a channel for love, a conduit for the infinite love that flows from the divine. I took her trembling hands in mine and I said to her, "Dear one, you have been standing with your back to the sun of divine love, trying to give warmth to others from your own shadow. No wonder you feel so cold. No wonder you feel so empty. Let me show you how to turn around. Let me show you how to face the infinite source of all love, and let that divine warmth fill you so completely that you naturally overflow with love for others." I asked her to close her eyes and take 3 deep breaths, letting her body relax and her mind become still. Then I guided her to imagine a golden thread, beautiful and strong and shimmering with light, connecting her heart directly to the heart of God. Not to any person, not to any relationship, not to any external source that might change or leave or disappoint her, but to the infinite wellspring of love itself, the source from which all love flows. Feel this thread, I told her. See it clearly in your mind's eye. Feel how strong it is, how unbreakable, how it connects you directly to the love that created you, the love that sustains you, the love that will never abandon you. Now feel the love of the divine flowing down this golden cord directly into your heart, filling every empty space, healing every wound, warming every cold corner of your being. Before you give love to anyone else ever again, you must first receive it from the source of all love. She sat there for 20 minutes, just breathing and receiving, her face gradually relaxing, a soft glow beginning to emanate from her being. When she finally opened her eyes, they were shining with a light I had not seen there before. She said to me, "Master, I had completely forgotten that I had a heart of my own. I thought my heart was only meant to take care of other people's hearts. I did not know I was allowed to receive love just for being alive." But this was only the beginning of what she discovered about love's true nature during her time at the ashram. Over the following weeks and months, I taught her something that will astound you when you truly understand it. I taught her that the entire universe operates on invisible threads of consciousness, and every soul is connected to every other soul through these sacred, luminous connections. Most people live their entire lives without ever seeing these threads, but they are there, constantly carrying love and energy and blessings between all living beings. Here is the cosmic secret that will change how you understand love forever. When you try to grab love, when you reach out desperately for affection, when you give from emptiness hoping someone will notice and fill you in return, you actually cut these sacred threads. Your neediness, your fear, your desperation creates a tangled mess of confused energy that blocks love's natural flow. It is like trying to catch water with a clenched fist. The harder you squeeze, the more it slips away. But when you first fill yourself from the divine source, when you become so full of love that it overflows naturally from your being, then these golden threads become strong and clear and radiant. Love flows effortlessly in both directions because there is no grasping, no fear, no neediness to obstruct the current. You become like a fountain connected to an infinite spring, giving freely because you are constantly being filled from a source that never runs dry. Think of it this way, my dear friend. Imagine the divine as a great cosmic weaver, constantly creating invisible threads between souls who are meant to love each other, constantly connecting hearts that are ready to bless one another. But here is what most people do not understand. These sacred threads can only carry pure love, not neediness, not possessiveness, not the desperate hunger for validation or approval or security. When we approach love from the ego, from the small self that feels separate and afraid and incomplete, we send the wrong kind of energy through these divine connections. We send taking energy instead of giving energy, and taking energy actually repels love the way opposite magnetic poles push away from each other. We send the energy of fear instead of trust, the energy of grasping instead of releasing, the energy of emptiness instead of fullness. The woman I was teaching began to understand this principle very deeply during her stay with us. She realized that all her years of generous giving had actually been a very subtle form of taking. She was giving in order to get. She was loving in order to be loved. She was serving in order to feel valuable and needed and important. She was sacrificing in order to build up credit in some cosmic bank account that she hoped would eventually pay her back with the love and appreciation she craved. There is nothing wrong with wanting to feel loved and valuable and appreciated, my dear friend. These are natural human needs, and the divine wants you to have these experiences. But when that want becomes the primary reason for giving, it completely changes the vibration of the gift. It turns love into a transaction instead of a blessing. It makes the other person feel unconsciously pressured to give you something back, even if they cannot quite put their finger on what that pressure island. True love, divine love, says, I give to you because giving feels good, because I am so full that I cannot help but overflow, because blessing you brings me joy regardless of how you respond. This kind of love places no burden on the receiver. It asks for nothing in return. It is like sunshine that shines equally on everyone without asking the flowers to bloom in any particular way. When she truly understood this cosmic principle, everything about her relationships began to change in the most miraculous ways. She continued to help people and serve others, but now she helped from fullness instead of emptiness. She continued to love her children deeply, but now she loved them as a blessing instead of as a way to feel needed and important. She continued to care for friends and neighbors, but now she cared as an overflow of her connection to the divine instead of as a desperate attempt to prove her worth and earn love in return. She would sit each morning in meditation, connecting to the divine through her golden thread, filling herself completely with that infinite love until she felt like a cup overflowing with light. Only then would she go out into her day and interact with others. And because she was full, because she was not looking to get anything from anyone, people began to respond to her in completely different ways. And here is what happened next. And this will show you the incredible power of the sacred thread technique when it is practiced correctly. Within just 3 months of learning this practice, people began responding to her as if she were a completely different person. Her adult children, who had barely called her once a month, started calling just to chat, just to see how she was doing, not because they needed money or advice, but because they genuinely enjoyed talking with her. Friends began inviting her to social gatherings and asking about her life instead of just dumping their problems on her. A kind gentleman who worked at the grocery store where she shopped began striking up conversations with her that led to a beautiful friendship and eventually to a loving romantic relationship. Neighbors started bringing her flowers from their gardens and inviting her for coffee just because they enjoyed her company. But most importantly, and this is the real miracle, she no longer needed these external expressions of love to feel whole and complete. She could receive them with pure joy and gratitude instead of desperate relief. She was no longer a starving person grateful for crumbs. She was a well-fed person delighted to share a feast with others. This illustrates perfectly the great law of divine return that I want you to understand with your whole being. Love operates exactly like electricity, my dear friend. It must complete a circuit to flow properly. When you try to love from emptiness, from neediness, from the small self that feels separate and lacking, you create an incomplete circuit. The love has nowhere solid to go and nothing substantial to return to because there is no real fullness at the source to receive it. It is like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it all leaks out and the bucket remains empty. But when you love from divine fullness, when you first connect to the infinite source and let yourself be completely filled, you create a complete circuit. Love flows out from the infinite source, through you to others, and then returns to the infinite source through you, and you experience yourself as part of that eternal circulation of divine love. I once knew a great saint in the mountains of India who had mastered this principle so completely that he was like a living example of divine love in action. He owned absolutely nothing except the simple robes on his back. He needed nothing from any person, asked for nothing, expected nothing. He had no family, no possessions, no earthly security of any kind, and yet he was surrounded by love everywhere he went. People traveled hundreds of miles through dangerous mountain passes just to spend a few moments in his presence. Children ran to him with flowers whenever he entered a village. Even wild animals seemed to feel peaceful and safe around him. The trees seemed to bloom more brilliantly where he sat in meditation. There was something about his very being that radiated such pure love that everything in nature responded to it. When I was a young seeker, I spent several months studying with this remarkable soul, trying to understand his secret. Finally, one day I gathered the courage to ask him directly. "Master," I said, "what is the secret of your magnetism? How is it that love flows to you so naturally when you seem to need nothing from anyone?" He smiled with such infinite kindness and said to me in his gentle voice, "My dear child, I learned long ago that the sun does not beg the flowers to receive its light. It simply shines with its own nature, and the flowers naturally turn toward it because light is what they need to flourish. When you become full of divine love, when you connect so completely to the source that you overflow with that divine radiance, you become like the Sunday. You do not need to ask for love or convince anyone to give it to you. It comes to you as naturally as flowers turn toward light, as naturally as rivers flow toward the ocean. He taught me that most people approach love like beggars, approaching strangers, hoping someone will drop a coin of affection into their empty cup. But when you learn to love from divine fullness, you approach relationships like the sun approaches the earth, with an abundance of warmth and light to share, expecting nothing in return but naturally receiving the joy that comes from blessing others. This is why the thread technique creates such an unbreakable connection to love in your life. When you tie your heart first to the divine source through that golden cord, you become filled with a love that is infinite and inexhaustible. From that fullness, you can love others without depleting yourself, without keeping score, without hidden agendas or secret expectations. And because you are loving from the infinite source rather than from your own limited personality, the love naturally returns to its source, which you have become a clear channel for. Now let me teach you the deeper principles behind these stories, so you can apply this wisdom in your own life and experience the same transformation that this dear woman experienced, that the mountain saint experienced, that thousands of souls have experienced when they learn to love from divine fullness instead of human emptiness. The first principle I want you to understand completely is what I call the inverted love pyramid. Most people in this world have love completely backwards, upside down, inside out. They put human relationships at the bottom as their foundation, hoping these relationships will make them feel connected to themselves and to the divine. They think that if they can just find the right person to love them, or if they can just make their family happy, or if they can just earn enough approval from others, then they will finally feel whole and complete and worthy. But this creates a very unstable foundation, because human love, no matter how sincere, no matter how well-intentioned, is always changing and always limited. People grow and change. People have their own problems and struggles. People move away, get busy, become distracted by their own lives. When you build your sense of wholeness on the foundation of other people's love, you are building on shifting sand, and your happiness becomes subject to every change in their mood, every shift in their circumstances, every evolution in their feelings toward you. The correct order, the divine order that creates unshakable happiness and love, is this: the divine self at the foundation, then your relationship with your own soul, then your relationships with others, and finally the return to divine unity. When you build love this way, like a strong pyramid with the infinite divine as your foundation, every relationship becomes stable and joyful, because it is not carrying the impossible weight of making you feel whole. Think of it this way: if you are spiritually empty and you try to get love from another spiritually empty person, what do you have? Two empty cups trying to fill each other, and no matter how much they pour back and forth, there is never anything substantial to pour. But if you first fill your cup from the infinite divine source, and then you pour from your fullness into their emptiness, now there is something real to give. And if they learn to fill themselves from the same divine source, then you have two full cups joyfully overflowing into each other, creating an abundance of love that blesses everyone around you. Here is how you can always recognize when you are loving from emptiness versus loving from fullness, and this awareness will transform how you approach every relationship in your life. When you love from emptiness, you feel anxious if the other person does not respond exactly the way you want them to. You feel hurt if they do not appreciate your gifts in the way you expected. You feel angry or disappointed if they do not love you back in the same measure that you love them. You keep a mental scorecard of what you give and what you receive, and you feel resentful when the balance does not seem fair. When you love from emptiness, you feel drained and depleted after giving because you have been giving from your own limited supply rather than channeling infinite energy. You find yourself thinking thoughts like, after everything I have done for them, the least they could do is call me back, or I am always there for everyone else. But when I need support, no one is there for me. These are the natural thoughts of someone who is trying to love from human emptiness rather than divine fullness. When you love from fullness, when you love from the overflow of your connection to the divine, everything feels completely different. You feel peaceful and centered regardless of how others respond to your love, because your sense of wholeness does not depend on their reaction. You give because giving feels good to your soul, not because you need something specific in return. You feel energized and uplifted after loving because you have been acting as a channel for infinite energy rather than depleting your own finite resources. When you love from fullness, you do not keep score because you are not giving from your own limited supply. You are giving from the infinite, so there is no sense of loss or depletion. You genuinely want the other person to be happy and free, even if that happiness does not include you in exactly the way you might personally prefer. You can love people without trying to control them, without trying to make them dependent on you, without trying to force them to need you in return. This is the crucial difference between selfish love and self-full love, and understanding this difference will revolutionize every relationship in your life. Selfish love says, I need you to love me so I can feel worthy and valuable and complete. I need you to appreciate me so I can feel important. I need you to need me so I can feel secure in this relationship. Selfish love is always trying to get something from the other person to fill its own emptiness. Self-full love says, I am so full of divine love that I want to share this fullness with you for the pure joy of sharing. I want you to be happy and free and fulfilled, not because your happiness makes me feel secure, but because I genuinely care about your well-being. I love you not because I need you, but because love is my nature, and you are here to receive it. Selfish love creates dependency and fear in relationships. It makes people feel pressured and burdened because they sense they are being asked to fill a bottomless pit of need. Self-full love creates freedom and joy in relationships. It makes people feel blessed and appreciated because they sense they are receiving a genuine gift with no strings attached. The second core principle that will transform your experience of love is understanding love as conscious energy, not just random emotion. Most people think love is just a feeling that happens to them randomly, like weather that they have no control over. They fall in love, they fall out of love, they feel loving sometimes and distant other times, and they assume this is all beyond their conscious direction. But love is actually a conscious force, a divine energy that you can direct with your attention and intention, just like you can direct your breath or your thoughts. Every time you think of someone with genuine care and blessing, you are sending them love energy through the invisible threads of consciousness that connect all beings. Every time you silently bless someone, even if they are thousands of miles away, you are strengthening the love connection between your souls. But here is what most people do not realize, and this is crucial for you to understand. When you think of someone with need or fear or judgment or worry, you are also sending energy through these same invisible threads, but it is confused, chaotic energy that actually weakens and tangles the love connection. When you worry about someone, you are not sending them love energy. You are sending them worry energy, which feels heavy and anxious and draining to receive. When you try to control someone because you are afraid of losing them, you are not sending them love energy. You are sending them control energy, which feels restrictive and suffocating and pushes them away. When you think about someone with resentment or anger, you are sending them that dark energy, which creates distance and conflict even if you never speak to them about your feelings. This is why possessive love, worried love, controlling love actually pushes people away from us, while blessing love, freeing love, unconditional love draws them closer. The energy we send through our thoughts and intentions is much more powerful than the energy we send through our words and actions, because thought energy travels directly from soul to soul, without the filters of personality and social conditioning. The difference between blessing someone and needing someone is this. When you bless someone, you are sending them pure love energy with no strings attached, no conditions, no hidden agendas. You want them to be happy and free and fulfilled, period. You are not trying to influence their choices or control their behavior or make them feel obligated to you in any way. You are simply radiating goodwill toward them the way the sun radiates light toward the earth. When you need someone, you are sending them love energy with conditions attached. You want them to be happy in ways that make you feel secure. You want them to be free in ways that do not threaten your attachment to them. You want them to be fulfilled in ways that keep you important in their lives. This conditional energy feels heavy and binding to the receiver, even if they cannot consciously identify why. Blessing energy feels light and expanding to both the giver and the receiver. It creates a sense of spaciousness and possibility. Needing energy feels heavy and contracting to both people involved. It creates a sense of pressure and limitation. When you learn to bless others instead of needing them, you will be amazed at how differently they respond to you, how much more willing they are to be close to you, how much more love they naturally want to give you. The third principle that will revolutionize your love life is what I call divine magnetism. This is the spiritual law that like attracts like in love consciousness, And it explains why some people seem to effortlessly attract love, while others struggle and strain and still feel lonely. Empty souls, people who are trying to love from neediness and fear and desperation, unconsciously repel love because they approach every relationship with a subtle energy of vampirism that makes others feel drained and depleted. Even when they are trying to be loving and generous, there is an underlying current of taking, of needing, of trying to get something from the other person to fill their own emptiness. Filled souls, people who have learned to love from divine fullness, naturally attract love because they approach relationships with an energy of abundance and blessing that makes others feel uplifted and energized. They give from overflow rather than from need, and overflow is naturally magnetic while need is naturally repelling. Think about the people in your own life that you most enjoy being around. I guarantee they are usually people who seem content and peaceful within themselves, who are not constantly looking to you to make them feel better about their lives, who seem to genuinely enjoy giving to you without keeping track of what they get back. These people have learned, either consciously or unconsciously, to love from fullness rather than emptiness, and you are naturally drawn to that radiant energy. On the other hand, think about people in your life who drain your energy, who you find yourself wanting to avoid even though you may care about them. They are usually people who are always in some kind of emotional crisis, who make you feel somehow responsible for their happiness, who give to you but in a way that feels like they are keeping score and expecting payment. These people are trying to love from emptiness rather than fullness, and even though you may have compassion for their pain, something in your soul wants to protect itself from their neediness. This is not about judging people who are in pain or who genuinely need support during difficult times. We all go through periods when we need extra love and care and assistance from others, and there is nothing wrong with that. This is about the underlying energy we bring to relationships over time. Are we coming primarily as a source or as a drain? Are we loving from fullness or from emptiness? Are we seeking to bless or seeking to get? When you practice the thread technique daily, when you learn to fill yourself first from the divine source before you interact with others, you gradually become a person who radiates blessing energy instead of needing energy. You become someone who naturally attracts love because you are not desperately grasping for it. You become someone who can offer genuine support to others because you are not secretly hoping they will save you in return. And here is something truly miraculous about this spiritual law. It works even when other people have no conscious idea that you are practicing it. When you change your fundamental love energy from taking to giving, from empty to full, from needy to abundant, people respond to you differently even if they cannot explain why. They just know that being around you feels good. They trust you more quickly. They want to spend more time with you. They naturally want to be generous with you because you are not demanding anything from them. Children and animals, who are naturally psychic and sensitive to energy, respond to this change in you almost immediately. Adults, who have learned to suppress their intuitive sensitivity, may take longer to notice consciously, but they feel the difference in your presence right away. You become like a tuning fork that vibrates at the frequency of love, and you naturally attune others to that same frequency when they spend time with you. Now let me teach you the specific daily practice that will transform you into a living magnet for divine love. I call this the daily thread technique, and it consists of 5 simple steps that anyone can do, regardless of their religious background or spiritual experience. This practice has been tested by thousands of people over many years, and it works for everyone who applies it consistently with sincerity and patience. First step: every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you do anything else that pulls your attention into the external world, sit quietly for at least 5 minutes and practice what I call divine connection. Find a comfortable position where you can sit with your spine straight but relaxed. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, letting your body settle and your mind become still. Now visualize a beautiful golden thread, radiant and strong and shimmering with divine light, connecting your heart directly to the heart of the divine. You can imagine this connection to God, or Christ, or Buddha, or the Divine Mother, or simply as infinite love itself. The important thing is that you connect to the ultimate source of all love, not to any human relationship or earthly source that might change or disappoint you. See this golden thread clearly in your mind's eye. Feel how substantial it is, how unbreakable, how it connects you directly to the love that created you and sustains you and will never abandon you. Take time to really establish this connection. Do not rush this step. Everything else depends on making this connection real and strong and vivid in your consciousness. Second step: Once you can clearly feel this divine connection, practice what I call conscious receiving. This is where most people make a crucial mistake. They are so eager to give love that they skip the step of receiving it first, and then they wonder why they feel depleted and resentful after loving others. Imagine divine love flowing down through this golden thread directly into your heart, like liquid light, like golden honey, like warm sunshine. Feel it filling every empty space inside you, healing every wound from past relationships, dissolving every fear about not being lovable, warming every cold place in your being that has felt abandoned or rejected or forgotten. Spend at least 3 minutes just receiving this infinite love. Let yourself be like an empty cup being filled to overflowing. Do not try to do anything with this love yet. Do not try to send it anywhere or use it for anything. Just receive it completely, selfishly, greedily if necessary. Let yourself be totally filled until you feel like a balloon filled with warm light, until you feel like you might burst with the abundance of love flowing into you. Many people feel guilty about this step because they have been taught that it is selfish to receive love before giving it. But this is exactly backwards. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The most loving thing you can do for others is to first fill yourself completely from the infinite source, so that your giving comes from overflow rather than from depletion. Third step, only when you feel truly filled with divine love, only when you feel like you are overflowing with more love than you can contain, then practice what I call conscious blessing. From this state of fullness, extend golden threads from your heart to the people you want to bless and love. Start with your immediate family members, then close friends, then anyone in your life who needs love or healing or support. But remember, and this is crucial, you are not sending neediness or worry or attempts to control these people. You are not trying to make them love you back or appreciate you or behave differently. You are sending pure blessing energy, pure goodwill, pure love with no strings attached. You are sharing your overflow of divine love the way a fountain shares water or a flower shares fragrance. Silently say to each person as you send them this blessing energy, may you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free from suffering, may you know how deeply you are loved by the divine, may you be blessed in every way. Feel the golden light of divine love flowing from your overflowing heart through these invisible threads directly to their hearts, carrying only blessing and goodwill. Do not worry about whether they can feel this blessing or whether it will change them in any particular way. Your job is simply to be a clear channel for divine love to flow through you to them. Trust that love knows how to reach them in exactly the way they need to receive it, even if you never see any external evidence of its effect. Fourth step, throughout the day, practice what I call conscious awareness. As you go about your normal activities, notice how love comes back to you in unexpected ways. Someone smiles at you for no apparent reason. A friend calls just to check on you. You receive a kind message from someone you were not expecting to hear from. A stranger holds a door open for you. A child waves at you from a car window. Your favorite song comes on the radio just when you need to hear it. These are not coincidences, my dear friend. These are the divine love you sent out in the morning returning to you through the infinite network of loving consciousness that connects all beings. The more you notice and appreciate these returns of love, the stronger your love magnetism becomes. The more grateful you are for small blessings, the more blessings you attract. Keep a mental note throughout the day of all the ways love flows to you. You will be amazed at how much love is actually coming your way when you start paying attention. Most people miss these gifts because they are so focused on the love they are not getting that they do not notice the love they are receiving. Fifth step, every evening before you go to sleep, practice what I call grateful completion. Spend a few minutes reviewing your day with appreciation and gratitude. Thank the divine for all the ways love flowed through you and to you during the day. Thank the people who served as channels for divine love to reach you, even if they had no conscious intention of blessing you. Thank the person who smiled at you in the grocery store. Thank the friend who sent you an encouraging text. Thank your family members for the love they showed you, even if it was imperfect or mixed with other emotions. Thank strangers who were kind to you. Thank even the difficult people in your day, because they gave you opportunities to practice loving from fullness rather than reacting from emptiness. End each day by renewing your commitment to being a clear channel for divine love tomorrow. Ask the divine to make you an even more transparent vessel for love to flow through. Ask to be filled so completely with divine love that everyone you encounter tomorrow feels blessed by your presence, even if no words are exchanged. Now let me teach you some advanced applications of this practice that will help you navigate the more challenging aspects of relationships and love. When you have a difficult relationship with someone, when there is hurt or anger or resentment between you, do not try to send them love directly from your human heart, because your human heart may have too many complicated feelings mixed in with the love. Your personality may still be hurt or angry or disappointed, and if you try to love from that confused emotional state, you will send mixed energy that creates more confusion in the relationship. Instead, use the thread technique to love them from the divine source. Connect first to the infinite love through your golden thread. Get completely filled with pure divine love that has no personal agenda or emotional charge, and then send that clean, unconditional love to the other person. This way, you are not trying to love them from your wounded personality, which might be seeking an apology or wanting them to change. You are loving them from the divine nature that sees only their highest potential and wants only their ultimate happiness. This practice is incredibly powerful for healing broken relationships because it allows you to send genuine love even when your human emotions are still processing hurt or anger. The divine in you loves the divine in them regardless of what has happened between your personalities. When you consistently send this pure love energy to someone, it gradually dissolves the barriers between you and creates space for healing and reconciliation to occur naturally. For healing broken relationships, use the thread technique to send forgiveness instead of resentment, blessing instead of bitterness. Again, connect first to divine love, get filled with infinite compassion, and then send that person the energy of release and freedom. You are not saying their behavior was acceptable or that you want them back in your life in the same way. You are releasing yourself from carrying the poison of anger, and you are sending their soul the love that might help them make better choices in the future. Forgiveness through the thread technique does not mean becoming a doormat or allowing people to continue hurting you. It means freeing yourself from the burden of hatred and sending others the blessing of divine love so they have the energetic support to heal whatever wounds caused them to hurt you in the first place. When you forgive from divine fullness rather than human effort, it feels natural and liberating rather than forced and bitter. If you want to attract a new romantic relationship into your life, do not use this practice to try to manipulate a specific person into loving you. That would be using spiritual power for selfish purposes, and it always backfires by creating karmic complications. Instead, use the thread technique to become the kind of person who naturally attracts healthy, loving relationships. Connect to the divine, fill yourself completely with love, and then send out a general blessing to your future beloved, whoever they may be and wherever they are in the world right now. Ask that they be prepared for love just as you are preparing yourself for love. Ask that they be healing from their past wounds just as you are healing from yours. Ask that they be learning to love from fullness just as you are learning to love from fullness. This creates an energy of readiness and openness rather than grasping and desperation. You are not trying to force the universe to send you someone specific. You are making yourself ready to recognize and appreciate the love that is meant for you when it appears. You are creating a magnetic field of love consciousness that will naturally attract someone who vibrates at a similar frequency of wholeness and joy. The most important thing to understand about all these applications is that this practice works by changing you, not by forcing others to change. When you become a person who consistently loves from divine fullness rather than human emptiness, you naturally create what I call a field of love consciousness around yourself. People feel peaceful and uplifted in your presence. They trust you more quickly because they sense you are not trying to take anything from them. They want to be generous with you because you approach them with blessing energy rather than needing energy. This is not manipulation or psychic coercion. This is simply how love energy works in the universe. When you vibrate at the frequency of unconditional love, you naturally attune others to that same frequency when they spend time with you. You become like a tuning fork that helps other people remember their own capacity for love and joy. Children respond to this energy almost immediately because they have not yet learned to suppress their natural sensitivity to spiritual vibrations. Animals feel safe and peaceful around people who radiate genuine love energy. Even plants seem to grow more beautifully in environments where this kind of love consciousness is practiced regularly. Remember that this transformation takes time and patience with yourself. You are retraining lifelong habits of loving from emptiness, habits that were probably taught to you by well-meaning people who themselves did not know how to love from divine fullness. Be gentle with your heart as it learns to trust that it is safe to be full, safe to overflow, safe to love without guarantees of getting specific results in return. Some days the practice will feel easy and natural, and you will feel connected to an infinite source of love that makes everything in life seem possible. Other days, it might feel difficult or forced, and you may wonder if you are just imagining the whole thing. This is completely normal. Keep practicing anyway, especially on the difficult days, because those are the days when you need the practice most. You are not trying to become perfect at this overnight. You are gradually building new neural pathways in your brain, new energy patterns in your consciousness, new ways of relating to yourself and others. Like learning to play a musical instrument or speak a new language, it takes time and repetition to make these new patterns automatic and natural. If you have been hurt deeply in romantic relationships, if you have experienced betrayal or abandonment or abuse, you might feel resistant to opening your heart again. This practice is especially perfect for you because it teaches you to open your heart safely. When your heart is connected to the infinite source through the golden thread, it cannot be truly broken by any human action. People may disappoint you or leave you or treat you badly, but your access to love itself can never be taken away because it comes from the divine source within you, not from them. You learn to receive love from the infinite wellspring first, so you are no longer dependent on imperfect humans to make you feel lovable and worthy. If you are feeling lonely right now, if you feel isolated and disconnected from others, this practice will be your salvation. Instead of waiting for someone else to end your loneliness, you can end it yourself by connecting to the love that is always available, always flowing, always ready to fill you completely. Once you know how to access this inner fullness, you will still enjoy human companionship and romantic love, but you will no longer depend on them desperately for your basic sense of happiness and wholeness. Loneliness is not really about being alone. Loneliness is about being disconnected from love, and love is always available from the divine source regardless of your external circumstances. When you learn to fill yourself first from this infinite wellspring, you become someone who enjoys solitude rather than fearing it, someone who can be fully present with others because you are not desperately needing them to fill your emptiness. If you are currently in a romantic relationship that feels stuck or difficult, if you feel like you and your partner are caught in cycles of conflict and misunderstanding, this practice can transform everything between you. Instead of focusing on what your partner is or is not giving you, instead of trying to change them or convince them to love you differently, focus on becoming a clearer channel for divine love yourself. Often when one person in a relationship starts consistently loving from fullness instead of emptiness, it awakens the other person's capacity for fuller loving as well. Your partner begins to feel less pressured and more appreciated. They start to trust that you love them for who they are rather than for what they can give you. This creates space for both of you to relax into deeper intimacy and joy. And if your partner does not respond to this change in you, if they continue to relate from neediness and fear and control, then you will have the inner strength and clarity to make whatever changes are needed from a place of love rather than fear. You will be able to set healthy boundaries or even end the relationship if necessary, not from anger or desperation, but from a loving recognition of what serves everyone's highest good. Remember that this practice is not just for romantic relationships. Use this daily thread technique for all your relationships. Send the golden thread of blessing to your children, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your coworkers, even to strangers you pass on the street or see in the news who are suffering. The more you practice loving from divine fullness, the more natural it becomes, until eventually you are simply a walking blessing to everyone you encounter. People feel better after spending time with you, even if they cannot explain why. You become a source of peace and joy in a world that desperately needs more peace and joy. When you love your children from this divine fullness, they feel secure and confident because they sense your love for them is not dependent on their behavior or achievements. When you love your parents from this fullness, old patterns of guilt and resentment begin to dissolve because you are no longer trying to get from them what they were never able to give. When you love your friends from this fullness, your friendships become deeper and more authentic because there is no hidden agenda of neediness complicating the connection. Even your relationship with strangers transforms when you practice the thread technique regularly. You begin to see the divine light in everyone you meet, regardless of their external circumstances or behavior. You naturally become more patient, more compassionate, more understanding because you recognize that everyone who is acting from anger or fear is really just a wounded soul crying out for love. This does not mean you become naive or allow people to take advantage of you. Divine love includes wisdom and discernment. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no to someone or remove yourself from a harmful situation. But you can do these things from love rather than fear, from clarity rather than reactivity, from a desire to bless rather than a need to punish. As we come to the end of our time together today, I want you to understand that you now possess one of the most powerful secrets ever discovered about the true nature of love. This is not just beautiful philosophy or wishful thinking. This is a practical method that has been tested by mystics and saints for thousands of years, and it has transformed countless lives from loneliness and desperation to fullness and joy. The ancient scriptures tell us that God is love, and if God is love, then love is not something outside of you that you must search for and capture. Love is the very essence of what you are. You are made of love, you live in an ocean of love, you are surrounded and sustained by love at every moment, and you are here on this earth to discover this truth and to become a conscious channel for infinite love. When you tie the sacred thread first to the divine, then to your own heart, then extend it to others from that divine fullness, you stop being a beggar of affection and become a sovereign of love. You stop trying to get love from a world that does not really understand love, and you start giving love to a world that desperately needs it. And because the universe always returns to us what we give from a pure heart, love comes back to you multiplied 100-fold. The thread technique works because it aligns you with the fundamental truth of existence. We are all one consciousness expressing itself through many forms, and love is the recognition of that oneness. When you love, from the divine center within you, you are not really loving others as separate beings who might or might not love you back. You are recognizing the divine light in them and allowing the divine light in you to greet and bless the divine light in them. This recognition is always mutual at the soul level, even when the personality is confused or resistant or afraid. When you send someone genuine divine love, their soul always receives it and is nourished by it, even if their mind does not consciously understand what is happening. You are watering the garden of their highest potential, whether they know it or not. Practice this daily thread technique with patience and faith, my dear friend. Do not look for immediate dramatic results from others, but notice how you feel different inside. Notice how you approach relationships with less fear and more joy. Notice how you give more freely because you are no longer giving from a place of depletion. Notice how you receive more gracefully because you are no longer desperately grasping for love to fill your emptiness. Notice how you become less concerned with getting love and more delighted with being love. Notice how you worry less about whether people appreciate you and enjoy more the simple pleasure of appreciating them. Notice how conflicts that used to devastate you now feel manageable because your sense of worth is not dependent on everyone understanding and validating you. Some days the practice will feel effortless and you will feel connected to a river of infinite love flowing through you. Other days it might feel like work and you may doubt whether any of this is real. This is the natural rhythm of spiritual growth. Trust the process and keep showing up to practice, especially on the days when it feels difficult. You are literally rewiring your consciousness from patterns of scarcity and neediness to patterns of abundance and blessing. You are healing not just your own heart but contributing to the healing of the Waniot, collective human heart. Every time you choose to love from fullness rather than emptiness, you make it easier for others to do the same. Be patient with yourself as you learn this new way of loving. You have probably spent years or decades trying to get love from outside sources, and it takes time to truly trust that there is an infinite source of love available inside you. You may have moments of doubt when you wonder if you are just making this all up, if you are just talking yourself into feeling better. These doubts are normal and do not mean you are doing anything wrong. Keep practicing anyway. The proof of this teaching is not in understanding it intellectually, but in experiencing its effects in your daily life. As you become more consistently filled with divine love, as you become more naturally magnetic to love from others, as you become more peaceful and joyful, regardless of your external circumstances, you will know beyond any doubt that this practice is real and powerful. If you have been hurt deeply in the past, if you have walls around your heart from years of disappointment and betrayal, please be especially gentle with yourself as you practice opening to receive divine love. Your heart knows how to love, but it may have learned to protect itself through numbness or cynicism or emotional distance. Allow yourself to feel whatever arises as you practice the thread technique. If sadness comes up, let yourself cry. If anger emerges, let yourself feel it without judgment. If fear arises about being hurt again, acknowledge it with compassion. All of these emotions are just old energy that needs to be released so that love can flow freely through you again. Remember that divine love is completely safe to receive. It will never betray you or abandon you or use you for selfish purposes. Divine love only wants your happiness and freedom and highest good. You can open your heart completely to this infinite source without any fear of being hurt or disappointed, because divine love is pure blessing without any agenda or conditions. As you heal and open through this practice, you will naturally become a healing presence for others who have been wounded in love. Your very being will radiate a message that says, it is safe to love again, it is safe to trust again, it is safe to open your heart again. You will become living proof that love is stronger than fear, that wholeness is possible even after heartbreak, that joy is our natural state when we align with our divine nature. Remember, dear friend, that love is not something you must earn through perfect behavior or prove yourself worthy of through endless sacrifice. You are worthy of infinite love simply because you exist, simply because you are a precious child of the divine, simply because love is what you are made of. You do not need to change anything about yourself to deserve love. You only need to remove the barriers you have built against receiving it. The thread technique is not about making yourself more lovable to others. It is about recognizing that you are already completely lovable and learning to receive the love that is your birthright. It is about becoming so full of divine love that loving others becomes as natural as breathing, as effortless as the sun shining. When you truly understand this teaching, when you experience the reality of infinite love flowing through you, you will never again feel like a victim of other people's choices about whether or not to love you. You will know yourself as a source of love rather than a seeker of it, as a giver rather than a taker, as someone who blesses the world simply by being fully yourself. Let me leave you with this affirmation that you can carry with you always, that you can repeat to yourself whenever you forget your true nature, whenever you slip back into old patterns of seeking love from empty sources. I am not seeking love, for I am love seeking to express itself. Through this sacred thread, I connect my gratitude, heart to the heart of all hearts, and from this divine union, love flows through me as naturally as breath flows through my lungs, as easily as rivers flow to the sea, as surely as spring follows winter. I am the love I seek, and I am here to give this love freely to a world that hungers for the blessing of authentic divine love. My dear friend, if this teaching has touched your heart, if you feel the truth of it resonating in your soul, please subscribe to this channel to receive more of these ancient wisdom practices that can transform your life. Like this video if it has brought you hope or healing or clarity about love. Your appreciation helps this message reach other seeking hearts who need to hear that they are worthy of infinite love just as they are. And in the comments below, please share your experience when you try the thread technique. Tell us how it feels to connect to the divine source of love. Share what happens in your relationships as you begin to love from fullness rather than emptiness. I read every single message, and your sharing helps build our spiritual family of souls who are committed to loving from the highest place within themselves. Your stories of transformation inspire others who are just beginning this journey. Your courage to open your heart again gives permission for others to risk loving again. Your commitment to practicing divine love makes this world a more loving place for everyone. Until we meet again in the love that unites all souls, may divine love be your constant companion throughout every day and every night. May your heart overflow with blessing for all beings you encounter. May you always remember that you are never separate from the infinite source of all love, that you are cherished beyond measure by the divine, and that your very existence is a gift of love to this world. Go now and tie your sacred thread, beloved one. Connect your heart to the heart of all hearts. Fill yourself completely with divine love, and then let that love overflow to everyone around you. Watch what happens when you become a living channel for the infinite love that created you and sustains you and celebrates you exactly as you are. The whole universe is waiting to love you back, dear friend. The only thing that has ever stood between you and the love you seek is the belief that it exists somewhere outside of you. Today you have learned the truth. You are love itself, temporarily forgetting your own divine nature. Now you remember. Now you can come home to the love that you are and share that love freely with a world that desperately needs to remember its own divine nature. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from all suffering. May you know how deeply, how completely, how eternally you are loved. And may you become a blessing to every life you touch, simply by being the love that you truly are.